want them to be able to check their stats, earn skins, earn avatars, earn unlocks, and it's a proven model.
And we are live back at the VIVE Theater at IAAPA, courtesy of HTC, and we've got a VIVE XR Elite. Come on, show that beautiful headset. Show it off.
That's
Look at
pretty.
That. Huh?
That's pretty.
That is pretty, isn't it? And you've got mixed reality on, so I'm assuming you can actually see what you can see that, right? That was a yes. And so I'm here with Armando Lanuti. Armando is the CEO of Creative Works, which is what I call them the largest and longest running and most well-known builder of laser tag arenas,
yep,
among other things. And you guys have been doing laser tag for how long?
About 26 years now.
26 years,
yep.
and we just talked to Life from Hollowgate a few minutes ago, and Armando's company was actually the distributor for Hollowgate when they launched here at IAAPA. And so Armando's been kind of here in VR. He saw it early and got in early and really has helped establish virtual reality as an attraction category at IAAPA in the family entertainment center, location-based entertainment market. And has been kind of like me, I think, patiently waiting for the technology to get to the point where you could bring that core competency of laser tag into virtual reality. And when I came to IAAPA in 2015, I think it was, and I saw zero latency for the first time, and I picked up Tim Ruse in this giant bear hug, and he didn't know who I was, by the way. And I said, "You did it!" And he looked at me like, "What are you doing, you crazy American?" And I'd been dreaming since the 90s of being able to combine virtual reality and laser tag, and then kind of forgot about that dream. And I saw them do it, and then other people have done it. But the problem has been there just hasn't been the throughput. There's an operational efficiency that you get with laser tag that we haven't gotten with VR yet.
We're getting closer.
We're getting real. That's what we're going to talk
yep.
about. And we're getting really close. But it's been 6 players, 8 players, maybe 10 players in a space. But
until now.
But what's laser tag got to be? Like what?
Yeah.
So let's start with the economics of laser tag. Why has it been around for 30 years? Why does it still endure?
Look, laser tag has been around, like you said, for 30 years. And it's a basic premise, right? You get player versus player. People get to shoot things. They get to tag things, right? Because we want to be in PR. And from that standpoint, the game changes every single time, right? There's humans involved. It's the same reason if you play a video game like Call of Duty, Apex Legends, etc. They change the map one time a year typically because the game is different every time you play it. Same reason that laser tag has had legs and has never been the fad that everybody wanted it to be. And when you talk about the economics of it, one of the things that's made laser tag so beautiful is that you can get 20, 30, 40, 50 players at a time, right? And most entertainment centers are looking for that throughput. They want to be able to put at least 24 players, like at a bare minimum. And the reason that is the average birthday party is 10 to 12 players. And so their goal is to be able to get at least 2 groups, 2 parties, whether it's a group event, bachelor party for an older group or a birthday party for a younger group. They want at least 2 groups that they can get into a game at a time and play. So 24 players is really that sweet spot of a minimum that most venues are looking for.
And we really haven't gotten close to that. And there's also a labor component as well. Like you can run a laser tag arena with 1 or 2 people, and you can get 20 people in there. So that employee to customer ratio is really high. And with labor costs skyrocketing in this market and labor shortages, it's really critical. And so you guys have brought was it a year ago you launched it? When did you launch Limitless?
So we started with the first version of Limitless 2 years ago. With the idea of taking a laser tag arena and remapping it and bringing it into the virtual world. The biggest thing there is it became throughput, right? And the difficulty of every arena being different every single time.
So you were using photogrammetry.
Yes, we were, LiDAR scanning, trying to figure out exactly where every nook and cranny was. There's so many opportunities for occlusion. We were trying to combine inside-out tracking with, oh my gosh, with what are the stupid boxes? Lighthouse tracking, sorry, at the same time. as well as just some, visual, Azure spatial anchors, all like 3 technologies to try and make it work. And it was hard. It was very hard, to say the least. And we kind of pivoted out of that. And last year we brought Limitless in its newest form, in its first version, where we took our own obstacles, we mapped them into the space, because for anybody that has done VR, when you go and you played the Void, one of the things that made it so great was what you saw is what you felt, right? And there was a connection between the physical and the virtual world, and that's what we wanted to create with Limitless. And so that's what we have with our version that we have on the floor. We've got an 8-player setup here. Like you said, that's a very common size right now. But there's physical obstacles. What you see is what you feel. You get to play in it. You can still lean up against an obstacle, duck under an obstacle, shoot over an obstacle, and it gives a different level of realism with it. And then we're running 22 players out at Dimension XR in Seattle, and we're running 16-player setups that we're able to start installing next week, actually, at Supercharged.
And 16.
In 2 weeks.
And 16 players in how much space?
40 by 40.
So 1,600 square feet. And that's always been, and since I started in laser tag in 1990, that 1 player per 100 square foot has kind of been the metric. And it's kind of weird because, room scale VR is 1 player per 100 square foot, like if you do a booth with Lighthouse. And so VR's always been in that 1 player per 100 square foot, but we haven't been able to get the number of players. You got 15 players playing 15 different experiences. Yes. The labor overhead of managing that is impossible.
It's incredibly difficult. And then that's that beauty of a laser tag-like experience. It's intuitive. People know what it is. They get it. You go and you shoot targets, right? And so a lot of others, I wouldn't say everybody, but a lot of others are trying to create a bunch of different games. And some of those experiences are amazing. Do not get me wrong. But again, go back to what made laser tag so successful. People want to go in and shoot things that have flashy lights on them.
They want to shoot their friends, too.
Correct. And they want to talk trash, and they want to have stats, and they want to see it. And then there's others that want to be casual, and they just want to go have fun. And so trying to create a balance for both of them while getting the throughput that is needed for an operator, that is where we finally have hit like this magic equilibrium point, I think, with Limitless and using the Focus 3s that have come out.
Yeah, and you guys are doing, is it native, all using the XR2 chip, or are you doing Wi-Fi 6E streaming?
Both.
Okay. How does that work?
So, sorry, let me correct myself. Everything's native on the headset.
Gotcha.
Sorry, I was thinking about as far as what are they connected to.
Yeah, they're all connected to a network.
They're all network on the Wi-Fi 6, but
Yeah.
we're not doing streaming to the headsets. Everything is on the headset itself.
So one of the challenges,
because we wanted an offline mode and
Yeah.
we wanted to be able to control environments.
Yeah, totally. And
Yep.
running 16 computers or 24 computers on racks with how many Wi-Fi hotspots?
It just becomes a cost burden as well as a space burden and a technological burden.
And you need an IT person on staff just to deal
Yes.
with it. And so what's the, now I feel like there had been some limitations around rendering 16 players, 18 players, 20 players with the onboard computing power of that and all the effects that you need around laser blasts and particles and things.
Yep.
What's your experience been around that? How have you optimized around it?
It has been a hurdle. One of the things that we did is we intentionally chose to not try and be the ultra realistic, right? So one of the ways that you can do that is with art style. No different, and everybody's like, oh, but it's about how many pixels you can fit in, and oh, it's about how high definition the graphics are. The players want a good experience. They want a good game. Fortnite is not ultra realistic. Apex Legends is not ultra realistic. They both make $1 billion a year. Sorry for my language. I apologize. Just realized there's kids on the screen.
We've never had that happen.
Right, but they make $1 billion a year on a free game. So this idea that it's all about those things is just wrong. And so we've gone towards more of that cel-shaded aesthetic. It allows us to get a really good experience that they're used to and that they enjoy without having that same issue.
So there's a clear economic advantage of VR laser tag, the way you're applying it, and we'll talk about that. And then we'll talk about some of the not so evident advantages that you think you'll be able to build. So what are the economics of, if I'm going to build a laser tag arena, now.
Yep.
What are the economics of that? How much does it cost me, and what do I charge per player?
Well, I think part of it starts with the size, right? So like you said, a laser tag arena is typically between 100 square feet and 125 square feet per player, but you got to build the space. You've got to build the room, right? So you've got a $10 a square foot to $15 a square foot general construction budget to build the 4 walls, put in HVAC, paint it all, do all those things. Then you need an arena, right, from us or another arena provider. That's typically somewhere around $30 a square foot. Then you also still need the gun system and the equipment, and that's anywhere from $2,500 to $5,000 a player, right, depending on how complicated and sophisticated of a system you're getting. So it's very easy for a laser tag arena to get to 300, 400, 500,000, depending on the size, the throughput, etc. The benefit, though, is that even at that price point, because of the high throughput, you're typically seeing that ROI out at a gross revenue level in about 8 to 12 months. If you look at somebody like Andretti, who's across the street, they're going to do $1 million a year out of that arena. And that's not even their core attraction, right? Go-karts are the core attraction. So there's ways to obviously still be very, very profitable in laser tag. We still do 50 to 60 arenas a year.
New construction arenas.
From a construction of new construction, not renos, 50 to 60 brand new arenas every year.
Yeah, wow. And so when you're looking at, so 24 player arena, it's going to cost you at least $250,000,
yes,
maybe 350 or 400,000. Yeah. And so when you look at limitless and this next wave of VR laser tag, we know that an HCC Focus 3 is $1,500.
Yep.
We know a striker rifle is about $1,000. And so the player unit is actually on the low end of what you would get. Are you using the haptic vest?
We are not.
Okay.
So we intentionally chose to go with the striker to get our haptics without adding a vest because of throughput, right? Yeah. One different piece is your time in VR doesn't have to be as long as your time in a laser tag game. So the average laser tag game is typically going to be between 8 and 12 minutes long for a laser tag game. Most of our clients are running between a 3 and a 5 minute game of Limitless for their experience, because you feel like it's a lot longer of a game, especially when they're able to move like they can in laser tag and they're running, they're sweating, they're having a good time. They come out and they feel like they had a fulfilled experience, and that's a key piece, from that standpoint. And so for like a 16 player Limitless, you're looking at about 160,000. And that's hardware, computers, networking equipment, the striker guns, etc. But because we're running a little bit short of a game, we want that fast throughput, and the striker gives us all the haptic feedback we need to make that a visceral, good experience.
Yeah. So it's cheaper than laser tag.
Yep.
All things being equal.
Yes.
And it's giving. And so let's talk about the price point. Like so it's a shorter game.
Yep.
Are they maintaining price point, or are operators starting to push up price point? How are they charging for it?
All of the above. So we're seeing a pretty wide spectrum. The Andretti in Katy, Texas is charging $17 for a 5-minute game there. Urban Air, and they're doing 450 to 500 plays a week. So they're enjoying it and they're doing well. An Urban Air is typically putting it into their platinum package, so that's like a $7 upgrade over their other package, and then you get to play it as much as you want. And they're cycling through 1,400 to 1,500 players a week. Then you've got smaller venues that might be like, we'll just call it in the middle of Des Moines, Iowa, right? It's not the same kind of a thing. They're running 150 players a week, and they might be charging $8 a game, much closer to laser tag. So I think a lot of it depends on your overall demographic, what's around, what your other attractions are, and those kind of things.
And so, all right. So economically, there's an advantage. Laser tag's been around for 30 years. I think it's a bit tired, but I might be jaded. And this is new and fresh, but I'm assuming that all things aren't even equal there. Like, what can you do with? Why is VR laser tag in your mind? How does it differentiate for the player experience? We know the operator, but how does the player experience differentiate?
On both sides, I think there's a couple different things. One that kind of plays into both, the operator and the player. Again, we build 50 to 60 laser tag arenas a year. They're typically going to then look the same, other than maybe some minor tweaks to effect lighting, that you might do every so often. They're going to look the same for 5 to 10 years at that venue. So one of the best parts about it is that with the press of a button, all of a sudden, I've got a new visual, a new visual, a new visual. that I can have in that same space. And that makes a massive difference to repeat play for the guest, but also for the operator because they have different experiences. And because you're dealing with a virtual world, I don't have to pay attention to things like physics, right? It's out the window, right? I can do things graphically and visually in a video game, even though I'm in real life, that I can't do in the physical world, right? Whether it's graphical effects. Here's the best one. We introduced this here this week, bots, right? It sounds silly, but for anybody that's a gamer going all the way back to the days of playing Quake, you would have bots when you only have 2 people in a lobby, all of a sudden it'd fill up with another 5 or 6. The worst part about a social game is on a Tuesday, there's 2 of you, right? And how do I have fun? Whether it's laser tag, golf, bowling, anything. It's not specific just to laser tag. So one of the things that we did is we introduced bots so that when I only have 1 player, they can still play. When I only have 2 players, they can still play. They can have an experience that's just as enjoyable. And that's something you can't do with the physical world that you can do with the digital world.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than playing laser tag with 2 people in a 3,000 square foot arena and you spend the whole time trying to find each other.
It's cat and mouse, right? Like again, we talked about at the very beginning, the whole point is I want to shoot things. And if I can't shoot things, I'm not having fun. So you need to provide them targets and places to interact.
And so one of the things, I left the laser tag business in the late 90s and I kind of watched it over the next 20 years, and a lot of manufacturers of laser tag equipment tried to introduce features like avatar features and customization features in different game modes and 50 different game modes. What's been your experience with that, and how does that play out in a virtual space?
So the biggest thing about that is it's nice to say I've got 250 game modes or 50 game modes, right? But the reality is you're going to play 2 different games. When you're busy on a Saturday, it's going to be one of 2 things. It's a free-for-all game where everybody shoots each other, or it's going to be a team game where people are somehow split on 2, 3, 4 teams, and they're going to go in as groups and play against other groups. That's it. That's what you're going to run 90% of the time. So that's one of the things that we did different with Limitless is that's what we focused on. It's got free-for-all, it's got team games, but where we focused on the customization is we created, again, look at Apex Legends, look at Fortnite, and the models that they have built. We've created the ability for the casual player to just be a guest, select an avatar, go have fun, because that's what they want to do. But then you do have an avid player that sees it a little bit more competitively. We want them to be able to check their stats, earn skins, earn avatars, earn unlocks, and it's a proven model. And that's a thing that we can do in the virtual world where that striker gun can look like a dragon. It can look branded for Andretti, branded for Urban Air. It can look, like a comic book, gun, whatever we want because we're in the virtual world.
So somebody asked this morning at the theater breakfast about a customization of avatars and being able to have avatars that go across different experiences, and I mentioned there's a platform called Ready Player Me.
Yep.
And I don't know if you've looked at that or what your plans are for letting people actually create their own avatars. Is that something that's on the roadmap?
Because of how we're trying to control the inputs of, like you said, the graphical fidelity and the control of being able to co-locate 16, 20 plus players, we have to have some control over that. So it's harder to allow an outside system to come in and all of a sudden you have an avatar, their IK could be bad, and trying to map all that stuff. So we are controlling that in the moment, but we love that idea, from that standpoint. Don't get me wrong.
And when you mentioned the barriers, and I know HTC somewhere floating around is the new self-tracking tracker. Have you seen that?
Yep.
Is that something that you wind up building in or mounting onto the barriers, so if they get moved, or people could actually move them around and they move in space?
So right now we have our barriers fixed. There's reason for that that'll come out in about a year, so I don't really want to get into why we've done that in an intentional way. But we are always in constant contact with HTC about how do we integrate the new things that they're coming out with, software, hardware-wise. That's one of the ways that we've integrated the striker guns into the system is we're using the wrist trackers on them, and they've been a phenomenal partner for us, absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, awesome. So last question, there's been a lot of talk in the industry. You and I have talked, we've worked on it, we've invested in esports.
Yeah.
And there are real challenges around the business models of esports. laser tag never took off as a competitive thing, I believe, because it's just too easy to cheat, too easy to hide sensors and stuff like that.
And I'm a 2-time Lasertron world champion, and I agree with you. Right?
you learned how to cheat better than everybody else.
I was, so it's very good. Just stand sideways.
And so one of the nice things about VR laser tag is it's going to be hard, if not impossible, to cheat, and you can really enforce those rules more. What are your thoughts around actually now this becoming more competitive, and where do you see it going in the future?
Look, I think because everything can be digitally tracked, because you have a closed system, it makes it a lot easier to control the environment, to keep things consistent, right? From a competitive standpoint, an esports standpoint, one of the biggest things is you need the experience for player A to be the exact same for player B, right? Otherwise, there's going to be an inherent disadvantage that could cause an issue where they don't feel like they had a fair shake. And so the digital system it allows that to take place. We're planning on some competitive things coming down the pipe. That's parts of the reasons that we've made some of the foundational decisions that we've done so far, and you'll see that coming in the future. Yeah,
awesome. I can't wait to see. Do you think so laser tag started out with a lot of freestanding QZR and Lasertron built these freestanding facilities, Laser Quest. And then all of those, I think the last Laser Quest just shut down in California.
Yeah.
Do you see that returning now with VR and maybe having more free roam VR competitive laser tag facilities?
I'm blanking on the name of. There's the one in Dallas already, right?
EVA Esports,
right?
EVA,
They're a phenomenal venue. But sometimes you find those venues that can run like that, and it becomes hard to replicate. Whether it's the market, the operations, and those kind of things. There were a lot of trampoline parks that started trampoline only. There were a lot of bowling alleys that started bowling only. And everybody wants that initially because of this ego, for lack of a better term, right? It's not a pure trampoline athletic park if it's got anything else in it. But the reality is, when you're trying to run a business, it's about throughput, but it's about satisfying the needs of a family or a group of friends. And when you only have one thing, that becomes very hard to be. And so that's why, even though there's always been a couple of years or even 10 years that you might have just bowling alleys, there's not been a bowling alley that's been built with only bowling lanes in a decade, right? You don't see that very often anymore. Yeah. And there's a reason for that, right? If I've got a 7-year-old, a 12-year-old, and a 16-year-old that I'm gonna go to play at a venue, they have different interests. And I need to go to somewhere that, as a parent, I can still kill 2 hours of time of entertainment and family. Same thing even when I've got a group of adults that are going out. My interests don't always align with my wife's interests for entertainment and relaxation and fun. I need to go somewhere that allows that to take place. So although I think that there will be continued venues like EVA that will come up, and there have been, and no different than there's a lot of VR venues specific right now, I see that over time there'll be a proliferation where there will be other offerings. Cool. We've just seen it too many times in the industry as that cycle has taken place.
Yeah, cool. So I highly encourage you guys to go check out Limitless VR at the Creative Works booth. It's got the Focus 3, it's got the Striker gun, and you're going to see the latest technology applied in a way that's got a fundamental business model that works for the operators, and I think it's a game changer, man, and thank you and congratulations
for that.
Thank you so much.
I really appreciate it. Thank you all.